Hello, lovely people. How are you? I hope you're doing well and looking at the multiplication which continues with the pandemic. Life is also setting to roll. Things are opening up, and I'm very sure that you're taking good care of yourself, your family, friends, and everyone around you. So, welcome to another episode of Know the Happiness How with Winko Chow. I'm your host, Wing Commander Satyendra Chauhan, aka Winko Chow, a resilient lifestyle strategy coach from Bangalore, India. And our guest today is Master of Sorts. He has been an ex top brass, highly experienced in organization development and human resources. He was the vice president with Sun Pharmaceuticals Group, president with Yash Birla Group, and a director with Vari Group. He's a trainer, mentor, coach, consultant, a Reiki master, professional energy practitioner. So, ladies and gentlemen, I give you Mr. Y. Dattatreya. Welcome, sir. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm very happy to be here with you.
Thank you, sir. And once again, like I always keep saying, it is pleasure to talk to you, and it is an honor to actually have somebody as experienced and as talented, as creative as you on this show. As you know, this show airs meaningful conversations. Yes, we try and keep it lighthearted, though, for all the young executives, entrepreneurs, and professionals who are working high pressure jobs in big cities facing multiple challenges and grappling with issues of negativity. What we do in our show is to talk about how to regain happiness and sustain it, why and what of resilience at workplace, and most importantly, some hows that we succinctly weave in our conversations. So it is a pleasure to have someone who is so immensely creative, vastly experienced, and kind of authority on variety of skills with now a purpose to benefit humanity through the source of creation, that is energy. And yes, among the lesser known achievements of Mr. Dattatreya is that he actually runs a Facebook group called as Emotional Intelligence Applications, which has over 9,000 members from across the world, actually about 80 countries to be kind of near the specifics. So I thought of starting today's conversation asking Datta as to what he posted this morning in the group. So, Datta, you said two most avoidable habits: Atmastuti, that is self glorification in front of others, and Parninda, that is blaming others. So, in traditional Hindu texts, it summarizes as avoidable in behaviors and actions. So, let me start by asking you how relevant is that in the workplace environment?
See, it has a lot of meaning in workplace, more meaning in workplace than, probably in general life or society or family. For simple reason that you may love yourself. You should love yourself very deeply. But then glorification of yourself in front of others is really meant to undermine others' strengths and others' personality, right? So, so self-glorification in front of others is not good at all. Secondly, blaming is a part of a psychological game which people keep playing, but they don't know that they're playing it. Okay, and this results in negative strokes. Exchange of negative strokes between two people, and the relationships are slowly cutting off, and they go to repression level. Okay,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
Okay, so they don't understand the psychological processes. But you took me by surprise by reading that whole thing.
So that the idea was to surprise you actually. So while what could be a better way to start on this note when we say stay away from I me myself, which we generally tend to get in that mode as we keep rising higher in the level of hierarchy and stature and status and whatever. So now I take you back a little bit. So I know you started out as management trainee, and you made it to the highest positions, going through the various rung of corporate ladder. So what, in your opinion, would be the reasons generally uh, for the negativity prevailing in the office and workspace? And when I say this, I would want to hear your experience at the lower levels, going up, and at the topmost rung.
Okay. The first and foremost reason for people getting into problems is the comparisons. Okay.
Mhm.
Fortunately, what happened with me was during the childhood and adolescence, a lot of comparisons were made with others. Okay. I did not surrender to these comparisons. Rather, I rebelled against the comparisons.
Mhm.
When I rebelled against the comparisons, what happened was I stopped comparing myself with others, and others. I don't let others also compare me with anybody else. Even today, if somebody says, "How could you become a successful consultant for the companies of repute?" I only say one thing, that it is because of what I have. And when they say, "Do you know some other consultant who is operating somewhere?" I say, "I don't know, but he must be good at something else."
Very
You
true.
understand? I'm
Very
good at
true.
something. So somewhere I came to grips with my unique talent, which
Mhm.
others don't possess.
Mhm.
And I just made it my ladder. And my ladder nobody else can climb in. Okay. Right. So that ladder is very important for me. That I specialize in certain things, and I am very good at it. And nobody can really
Mhm.
create such a ladder for themselves except their own
Mhm.
ladder.
Mhm.
You understand? So if everybody is climbing one ladder, is there any comparison? You
Absolutely.
cannot. You are good at high jump and I am good at long jump. Can there be a comparison? Even if you pick up two report cards of a child, two children in the school who stood first, you will look at if you look at very closely at the report cards, what you will find is one is good at mathematics, another is good at English. So
Mhm.
there also there is a separation, division. Okay, we are uncomparable beings actually, and unfortunately we are put in a machine which will produce a standard person, right?
Mhm.
So you go through history, you go through geography, you go through mathematics, you go through English, and you come out of the same machine, and another person also comes out of the same machine. But
Mhm.
then we don't realize why there is a difference between these two people.
Mhm.
So difference is one thing we should respect more and more.
Mhm.
There is no similarity between two people at all.
Mhm.
People are similar when it comes to negative emotions. Like you are sad and I am sad. You are
Mhm.
depressed and I am depressed. You are frustrated and I am frustrated. You know, these are all negatives. The negatives were all equal. But when it comes to positives, we are outshining each other.
Mhm. That's so very interesting, and you know, mm, admiringly the way you've put it across. For all those people who've been wondering as to uh, competition is the key, you must understand that actually when you're competing, you are kind of comparing, and what you need to understand is that uniqueness that we all have. That's so very nicely put, that while we are going up the rung of the ladder, if we decide to have our own ladder, nothing better than that. That's
One more example I'd like to add, to this. That
mm,
is, I am a consultant for one of the largest software companies of the world. Okay,
okay. Hmm.
and when I do the workshops in that place, what
Hmm.
happens is some of the group leaders
Hmm.
means, one who has about 2,500 software professionals working under him,
Hmm.
such
Hmm.
group leaders, they come during the lunch and, very, I mean, they ask me a question. Do you think I am in the correct profession? After spending about 15 to 20, 25 years, if these people have doubts about their own profession,
Hmm.
you can you can think and imagine of all these highest professionals in the world, you know
Hmm.
how they must be feeling, whether they are complete fit for that profession or not,
Very true.
right? They're doing
Very true.
it for money, for sake of money, for sake of some kind of a satisfaction, but then they are not happy with it.
Very
You
true.
understand? Just because they don't identify their own talents very early in life.
Hmm. Hmm. Where, I mean, so true. As a matter of fact, you have answered what I was actually thinking, and what was on my mind was that I know you've, in your vast training experience itself, you've trained over thousand, not thousand, sorry, 1,50,000 leaders, and coached around 6,500 leaders, mentored
Mhm.
about 15 odd directors in 85 companies in all sectors, including software. And I'm very sure that this experience would have also given you another perspective on bosses versus leaders. So
Yeah.
what is, where do you, how do you rate them? Like you said, most of them, they come up to you and say, oh, am I in the right profession? So when they say that, what is your experience? uh, how would you rate them in terms of, are they good bosses or they are leaders?
See, there is one basic, there are two, three basic differences between
Hmm.
leaders and bosses.
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
First is leaders are always visionaries, they
Hmm.
have vision. They have
Hmm.
vision.
Hmm.
Whereas bosses don't have vision. They go after the goals and they keep checking, all the subordinates for the weaknesses, for the flaws, for the problems, for the difficulties and all that, means they get into a negative mode. That is one.
Hmm.
And leaders always influence. So when they influence others, they have to be closer to people. When I
Hmm.
have to influence you, I have to be closer to person, closer to you. You
Yeah,
understand?
yeah,
I
yeah,
should
yeah.
be able to understand your mind, and I should be able to understand your difficulties. Then I should keep mentoring you, mentoring you basically, right? But bosses want control, and you can control people only when people are victims. You
Hmm.
make people victims. You understand? And for making people victims, you have to play games. So bosses play games always,
Hmm.
and people should understand what are the games actually. Psychological games are tremendous. Even the
Hmm.
one who is playing it doesn't know that I am playing a game.
That's
And one who is suffering also doesn't know he is playing, he is a part of the game.
that's very interesting, and I'm very sure our listeners and viewers would be interested to know more about this. Playing the game without realizing that you're playing a game,
Right.
unconsciously, and the victim also doesn't realize that he or she is being played. That is something
Uh,
very interesting. Would you like to explain this little more?
let me in fact complete it. I mean, I wanted to tell you three differences. First
Hmm.
difference is that the visionary and the only objective
Okay.
oriented person.
Hmm.
And second is that the control and the influence part.
Hmm.
And third part is
Hmm.
boss is going for intangibles all the time.
Hmm.
Sorry, not bosses, leaders go for intangibles all the
Hmm.
time.
Hmm.
Bosses going for tangibles only. You understand?
Hmm.
And tangibles produce negativity in the environment,
Hmm.
whereas intangibles, they keep person growing. They keep the people growing. They grow because of intangibles,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Okay. So to tell you one simple example, suppose you are going outside, your knowledge is sufficient. Even if you don't have money in your pocket, okay, still you can roam around a lot. You can
Hmm.
ask for help. You can be
Hmm.
compassionate to people. You can do everything, right? But suppose you carry a tangible like a credit card in your pocket, okay,
Hmm.
right? What happens on in the journey? You keep keep your hand on that card on your pocket to see whether it is there or not. That means it creates insecurity in you. Okay, any tangible you cannot carry all the time with you. You cannot carry your flat, you cannot carry your money, you cannot carry all the things all the time.
Hmm.
But intangibles, they work a lot. Like for example, you have knowledge, you have wisdom, you have a lot of, I mean, uh, skills to really apply anywhere,
Hmm.
that nobody can seize from you. So intangibles, so leaders, they practice intangibles a lot.
Hmm.
Their constant endeavor is to try to see that, ensure that team spirit is very high. And He is working with satisfactory individuals, right? He causes satisfaction to the customers, right? Okay, that is the approach any leader takes. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so when
So,
we become bosses because we want control, we apply all sorts of things like manipulation, lying, all that we apply, right? All negatives we apply in the area. That's the reason why corporates become very toxic at times.
mm-hmm. Very, very true. So, I'll come to that question which I had asked you again. But here, what I would like to understand a little more is about this aspect that you said. When and in your experience, when you've seen that leaders are this kind and bosses are this kind, and yes, I'm sure there couldn't be a better way to put it across and explain for everyone to understand that. Yet, where are things going wrong? We have so much of training happening all across the world, and I'm not country specific or region specific or culture specific. I'm sure, like you said, you are still into training one of the best companies in the world. Yet, despite all this training that is happening, why is that the bosses fail to address the aspect of human behavior or behavioral issues which could actually make them leaders? What
See,
goes on behind the minds?
basically one thing we need to understand, we cannot keep all the countries and all the corporates at one
Okay.
platform, because they are very culture specific.
Okay.
Okay, and if you go through the models that are available for intercultural values, right?
Hmm.
Okay, uh, you see whole of the Asia, there is a dominance in the culture all the time. There is something called power distance index. This
Hmm.
is very high when
Hmm.
it comes to Asian cultures.
Hmm.
Okay, when it comes to Western cultures, this is very low. you
Hmm.
know like for India, 78% is the power distance index,
Hmm.
whereas it is about 40-45% for Western cultures,
Hmm.
right? So what it does is that if power distance index is very high, then automatically domination comes in.
Okay.
You understand? The way of looking at hierarchies also completely is different in Western cultures and Asian cultures.
Hmm.
In Asian cultures, because they're dominant cultures, what will happen? Highly dominant cultures. What will happen? Power distance will be very high between
Hmm.
the boss and the subordinate. You
Hmm.
understand? We
Hmm.
start respecting seniority, number one. Second thing we start respecting is the age.
Hmm.
Third thing we start respecting is the position.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, all three are not related to real performance of the people. Just because somebody is occupying a higher chair, then you have to respect them, right? Which is not true in those cultures which have low
Okay.
PDI, power
Okay.
distance index.
Hmm.
So what would happen in America is that you and me are working and you are my boss, but still you are supposed to be equal with me. In order to be equal, you need to put on the behaviors to express that equality.
Hmm.
That's the reason why in Western cultures people can call the boss by name, but then in Indian culture we don't call.
Hmm.
You understand that?
Hmm.
Okay. So equality is practiced more in Western cultures, and in our culture, the
Okay.
dominant, basically the control culture.
Okay.
Moreover, one understanding with which all the people should be working in corporates is that there is a hierarchy,
Hmm.
right? Hierarchies are respected in high power distance index cultures,
Hmm.
right? So ours is a high power distance index.
Hmm.
So what would happen naturally is in hierarchy, everybody would like to assert their own control over the others, because
Hmm.
it is based on power. No, hierarchy is based on power. Okay, so
Okay.
everybody
Uh-huh.
would like to exercise their powers.
Hmm.
Okay, at every given opportunity, they would like to exercise their power and tell others that I am superior to you. So naturally, the games will be played more and more in such cultures.
Hmm.
You understand? So
Hmm.
everything belongs to. I mean, it's culture specific actually.
Okay. All
Culture
right.
specific.
So, so now, uh, what you're trying to imply here is that if I have to make a comparison, uh, let's take this as one of the measures. So the games being played in the West, or let's say Southeast Asian countries, or elsewhere would be different.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like African cultures and
Okay,
Asian cultures, they are somewhat similar. Right? That's the
okay.
reason you see there are so many coups there in African countries, and rulers are being replaced by military or something or other. And
Hmm.
same thing happens, in even our culture. We
Hmm.
call ourselves the largest democracy, but are we democratic really? No. Whosoever is in power, they assert the power, and
Hmm.
the power is centralized in such
Hmm.
cultures. Hmm.
Hmm.
Right?
So coming back to the aspect of games being played and people being played unknowingly, unintentionally. So how does
Right.
that happen? That is something very
You know,
interesting, and I'm sure if people get to learn little about it, it would be really holding them in good stead.
yeah. Unfortunately, this gameplay starts. I mean, people start learning it right from childhood. Okay, a child wants a chocolate from the parents, and chocolate they refuse the chocolate to the child.
Hmm. Hmm.
Child throws temper tantrums.
Hmm.
you know he hits the head against the wall, or starts throwing his limbs on the floor. So what will happen to parents? They will feel fearful, and since they feel fearful that child will hurt himself or herself, they start giving the chocolate. That is the moment the child concludes in the mind that unless I put fear into others, they will not do my things, or they will not give me what I want.
Hmm.
The game start at that early age,
Oh.
and they become proficient when they get old. And instead of chocolate, they will start demanding loyalty, they will start demanding performance, they will start demanding everything. Even if it is wrong, they'll start demanding more and more. You
Hmm.
understand? You fulfill one requirement, they will throw a certain requirements, some more requirements on your face. You
Hmm.
understand? So why they are doing it? Because they want the person to be victim in front of them. You
Hmm.
understand? So they become persecutors in a way.
Hmm.
So this persecutor victim game, they'll keep playing everywhere, right? Like, to give you two examples, one game is called Niggy Sob,
Hmm.
Nigysob,
Hmm.
Niggy Sob.
Hmm.
Okay, in this game, what the boss does is
Hmm.
he'll keep collecting information on failures, on problems not solved, on where
Hmm.
they were at fault, people are at fault, but he will not reveal.
Hmm.
He will
Okay.
keep accumulating. He will keep accumulating such information. Only during the appraisal time, when the subordinate is sitting for interview, they will
Hmm.
simply unleash all these things. On May 13, you have done this. On June 15th, again, you have done this. On September 13th, again, you have done this. On December 10th, you have again done this. And still I tolerated you. And why should I give you any promotion? Now, the
Hmm.
victim cannot really assemble all these things in the mind at that moment, right?
Hmm.
It is like throwing a bucket of ice on your head, right? You don't know what is happening. Then he says, so that is the reason why I'm not giving you anything.
Hmm.
You understand,
Okay.
right? It is
Okay.
called a of game, right?
Hmm.
That
Okay.
the full form of it is, now I got you, son of a bitch.
But
You understand?
tell me one thing. While I mean, this sounds little cruel. Yet, what the boss is trying to do here is necessarily not a game.
It's a
He's
game.
just maintaining a how do you call it a game
Because
here?
Because here the subordinate is failing in getting the feedback, regular feedback,
All
and
right.
on time.
Okay.
You understand? He is not seeking it, and the boss is purposefully not giving it.
So it is not unintentional then. It is intentional, and that is why it is a cruel game then. Okay.
It's a cruel game, right?
Okay.
It happens between husband and wife also, if you look at very carefully. When husband is
Okay.
unhappy with wife, no, he will start, calling all the names of all the family members of hers and how wrong they have been at a
Mm-hmm.
point of time. You understand? He accumulated for over a period of time and suddenly unleashing all this information on her. She
Mm-hmm.
becomes immobile. She cannot think at all. She cannot remember anything. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the moment she's a victim, you know.
And it can be other way around, by the way, now.
Other way around also. Yes, yes, yes. You know,
Okay. Uh-huh.
I'll tell you an interesting case, a couple came to me and lady had a problem with the husband.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And even if husband was not willing for counseling,
Mm-hmm.
she dragged him in front of me. Okay.
Okay.
So she was very sure that, in front of me, neither he will beat her nor he will abuse her or anything, right? She was very, very clear about it. So I said, what is the problem? She said, he doesn't take care of me. I said, what is the indication? Then, she started. She
Mm-hmm.
looked at him and said, what have you done for me since our marriage?
Mm-hmm.
And he was aghast.
And she, and
Said, what
and
is that
she,
I did not do? I took to hill stations every 6 months. I take you to very good restaurants, virtually every week. I take you to cinema halls. I bought whatever you wanted. Now you hold a jewelry worth
mm-hmm.
about 50 grams or 60 grams or 100 grams and everything. And
Mm-hmm.
still you say, I did not do anything. She looks at him point blank and says, I never wanted all this. Then he asks her, what is that you wanted exactly?
Okay.
Then she said, I wanted half an hour's conversation with you every day, which you could never give me.
Okay.
You never listened to my problems. You
Okay.
never bothered to ask me about my welfare. You never took me closer to you and say, I love you. Right? So he's aghast. He said, why did I spend lakhs of rupees, when she just wanted some time?
Very true. But here it is not. Here it is not intentional. You see,
It is
here.
unintentional. She
Uh-huh.
knows, he knows that he loves her. She knows that, because
Okay.
of him, he had children, everything. But
Okay.
still, why she is pointing out all the lack of things? Why?
Okay.
Because it is
So,
intentional. It
so,
is completely intentional.
so now, yes, the next question which stems from here is a very natural one. What is the counter? The person or the victim, so-called victim,
Counter,
one is
counter.
the one, if it is intentional, how does a boss counter it? Because down below, whatever he is doing would have repercussions in terms of productivity, in terms of the rift, in terms of the negativity, which at the end of the day, which will not be conducive to the organization. Number one. Number two is, what happens to the victim? uh, how does he or she counter this? What do they need to be doing? Maybe being proactive, or maybe more, communicating every now and then, or maybe at certain intervals. So what is that resolve?
In fact, if we look at closely, all the corporates, they have most of the productivity problems in the May, June, July.
Okay.
The reason is in April, they conclude.
Mm-hmm.
April, they conclude, this performance appraisal and all that, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
People get something, people don't get anything, something like that. So
Mm-hmm.
May, June, or July are very difficult times for all the bosses, where
Mm-hmm.
the victim is not cooperating with them. Victim is sometimes rebellious. Victim
Mm-hmm.
shows least of the performance, but they cannot remove them simply because there are no replacements available.
Okay.
It will take another 3 months to 6 months, really, that
Mm-hmm. I'm I'm losing you, sir. Can you hear me? I can't hear you. You're not on mute?
no, I'm not on mute.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Now I can hear you.
No, no.
Yeah,
Okay.
I lost you for a while, for last 15, 20 seconds.
I'll repeat it.
Yes, sir.
So the months of May, June, July are horrible for bosses also.
Okay.
and the victims also,
Yes,
right?
yes. Uh-huh. Yes.
Also. So you will find the productivity lacking during that period,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
always in conflicts, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because the victims turn rebellious,
Okay.
right? And they wouldn't like to contribute to the organization because people don't work for organizations. People work for immediate bosses.
So
Understand?
it is so
Understand?
so deep entrenched. You know, I mean, you sounding as if it will be very difficult to find a resolve for everybody,
No,
or
no, no.
they're not looking for a resolve, I guess.
Not difficult because
Okay.
how to counter the games is one thing people have to learn. Like for
Okay.
example,
Yes.
boss is playing Nigi Soap and they understand that he is playing Nigi Soap. In
Mm-hmm.
that case, what they have to do is every 15 days or 1 month once they have to
Mm-hmm.
go to the boss and seek the feedback on their performance.
All right.
So the
Great.
bosses collect this over a period of time of 12 months. You
Mm-hmm.
understand?
Yes.
Okay. So simply suppose you are my boss, I come to you and I say, sir, I would just like to have your 5 minutes. Tell me how I have been performing in last 15 days or last 1 month.
Okay.
Where I need to improve and where I am already good at.
Okay.
If boss refuses, he loses his right to ask all these questions at the end of the year.
Okay.
You understand that he
Uh-huh.
loses his power because already I asked for and he did not give the feedback to me.
Mm-hmm.
If they give feedback to me, I also ask him, how can I correct in these areas where I need to improve?
Mm-hmm.
Simply ask these questions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And five
Mm-hmm.
minutes is not a big time.
Very
Okay.
true.
Boss gives the information about, or he gives the feedback, then
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't have power to ask the same, give the same reasons at the end of the year.
Okay. While I'm trying to understand, I'm also trying to picture a scenario where it would not be this easy. Like I will share an episode of one of my clients who came to me. I would not like to, for the sake of confidentiality, the client and the industry. So what
Right.
she said was that, you know, boss is not ready to reason at all. And what happens is, like, what is the result? The whole industry is like that. Probably they are in cashing on the negatives, that is the insecurity and the other aspects probably of what are available in the demographics. That person says, I want a resolve, but I am not getting any. So in that scenario, what is possible?
Second resolve is, see, anybody who becomes a persecutor actually is doing what? He is finishing the self-worth of
Mhm.
the subordinate, immediate
Okay.
subordinate or immediate reportee. You
Okay.
understand that?
Okay.
If you can retain your self-worth intact,
Hmm.
people become fearful about your energies, your self-worth,
Okay, that's very interesting.
right?
Hmm.
Like, for example, if I carry low self-worth, you carry high self-worth, when you come in front of me, what would happen to me?
Yeah, obviously. I mean,
I
uh,
carry low self-worth, you carry high self-worth.
yes, yes.
What will happen to me? Can I communicate with you?
No, not really. I mean, you would be
Because
uh,
I
insecure
feel,
again in a way.
I feel inferior. You
Yes, yes,
understand?
yes.
But under what conditions I can really communicate to you?
Mhm.
Tell
When
me.
I raise my self-worth, I mean,
But
when
I
the
cannot.
boss raises the raise, when the
No,
boss
but
raises,
I
hmm,
cannot raise my self worth at all.
okay, then he has
I could have,
to
if
bring
I
down
could
the
have done
others.
that long back, so I
Okay,
cannot raise my self suddenly. Then what would happen?
so you
I
will have
cannot.
to.
The communication is not there, right?
Hmm.
Now, only choice I have is to lower your self worth
Yeah,
and get to my same level.
yes, that's right. That's what I was saying. Yeah.
Then I can communicate with you. And how do I lower your self worth?
Hmm.
By criticizing you,
Yeah,
by
trying.
stretching your mistakes, by creating problems for you. I can bring down my self worth by shouting, by humiliating, by
Yeah.
insulting.
Hmm.
All this, I can lower
Triggering
your.
triggering
Yeah,
the ego basically.
right. So
Mm.
I'll be able to lower your self-worth. When your self-worth becomes equivalent to mine, then I can communicate well with you.
Excellent,
So
excellent.
what these bosses or several husbands are doing is lowering the self-worth of the subordinate or the wife. And
Mm.
actually they are insecure within.
Okay.
If you refuse to lower your self-worth, then they can't play games with you. But one feels very greedy, at such times, that oh, I should get an increment, I should get a promotion, I should be in good books of the boss, and all that they try to do.
Mm-hmm.
And in order to do that, you have to lose your self-worth.
Okay. That's
Logic doesn't play when games are active. Logic doesn't play much.
mhm. Okay. So I mean that's so very interesting. But i- is it the only way? While we understand, yes, somebody should hold his ground and trust the conviction, the knowledge, and all the positive attributes and the powerful attributes that you have to maintain your self worth. But is that the only way, or there are other ways also to kind of counter it? Because at this moment I may not be able to comprehend the entire situations. So, and I'm very sure that people would have different situations at different times. Is there something else that you would like to share on this aspect?
Yeah, there are so many people who came for coaching, coaching, and
Okay.
all that said was, I'm not getting promotion, I'm not getting, increments, I'm not getting the evaluation as it should be done. It is not really objective evaluation, it's completely subjective, and all that. Then I ask them to be secure with whatever they have or whatever they are getting, and that should be sufficient,
Hmm.
right? Like if your relative is very ill, and a very close relative is very ill and he is admitted in hospital, you require money. If you don't have it, you go to one person and ask. He doesn't give. Then you go to another person and ask. You try several places
Hmm.
where you can draw
Hmm.
money from, right?
Hmm.
Okay. And in that, even if person says no, you don't feel insulted. True or no?
Hmm. Very true.
Okay. So ultimately, your aim is simply to get that what you want, right? At that moment.
Hmm.
It should be very similar in this case also. I advise them that, keep working for one more year. During this time, you recognize your abilities, strengths, and everything. And then quit this organization and go to another organization where you will get more money and a better status, everything. Choices are open to you, right? And
Hmm.
this dawns on them, and they are ready to improve their performances for 1 year and all that. And because of this improvement in performances, either they get what they want from the same organization or they feel confident enough to jump into another organization.
Excellent. So
It is just mirroring their strengths and abilities and skills. That's what
okay.
is important. Mm.
Excellent. So while you say that, and what if I'm trying to read between that, what I understand is, if you can get over your fears, and you can work on, again coming back, you can work on your self-worth in every which
Right,
way, maybe gain some skills, and make sure that the environment is starts to recognize those strengths in you.
right.
That's very interesting. Now, yes, enough of the
Game.
corporate and the games. I'm very sure that people must have gotten a few tips there.
Right,
What I was seeing there was your remarkable journey. And while you've had a remarkable journey, every journey has its ups and downs, and I'm sure yours also would have had some ups and downs. So, and you would have had your own trying times, as as an individual in your personal capacity, and as a professional growing up. So, what have been your challenges from where you have learned a lesson and you've come out a winner? if you would want to share that with our audience here.
Right. Firstly, let me tell you, I had hardly any downs in my career,
Oh,
simply
okay.
because the kind of the profile I created for myself, the
Hmm.
kind of path I had chosen, there were
Hmm.
hardly any times.
Hmm.
If I didn't like my boss, I quit the organization. And
Lucky there.
if boss tried to extract something from me which is not ethical in nature, I quit the organization on my own, because I had a lot of confidence in my own ability and I believed in myself fully, completely, right? And the path I had chosen was something which people cannot really envy, because it is the area of problem solving. I became the best problem solver right from my very
Okay.
young age, childhood
Okay.
age, right?
Okay.
When
Hmm.
my father was a yogi like, and he never bothered about how the house is running or what is happening and all that, right?
Hmm.
And my brother was keeping a distance from all the problems at home, right?
Okay. Okay.
So my mother used to cry sometimes. Okay.
Hmm.
In one of those moments I said, "Mummy, can I do something for you?" i was I was 9 years old at that time.
Okay. Hmm.
She said, "Look, the neighbors are saying this, which is not very good, and it keeps hurting me and all that.
Hmm.
Then what I said is, suppose I resolve this problem, you will be happy? She said, yes. Then I went to neighbors and talked to the elders in the family, right? Why are you passing on such comments and this and that and everything? And is it good on your part and all that? They patiently listened to me and they understood the rationale, I was giving to them. And they said, "We're very sorry, we misunderstood your mother. So we kept saying all these things and we will never say such things." Thereafter, they stopped it. My mother
Hmm.
felt so happy that she hugged me and gave me a 1 rupee coin at that time, which was equivalent
Oh,
to 1,000 today. You understand? That really motivated me to get into problem solving.
okay.
Even as a management trainee, I performed all such activities which a head of the department performs.
Okay. Hmm.
Like, I would seize the problem, I will take the bull by horns, and then keep fighting it until I become successful.
Hmm.
So in all the companies where I served, I was called a troubleshooter. You understand? I would not do anything which is a run of the mill kind of a thing, right? Which everybody attends to, I will not attend to. I will attend to only problems. And people generally keep away from problems.
Hmm. Very
Understand? They're
true.
very
Very true.
fearful of problems,
Hmm.
because some people, or most people, what they realize is that parents did not give me attention when there was a problem in the house. So they hated the problems because parents did not give them enough attention.
Hmm.
So they grew up like that and they hate problems. They don't like problems and they don't solve the problems. Unsolved problems, they magnify quite a lot.
Hmm.
You understand that? Okay.
Hmm.
As a result, people are really fearful of problems and they don't go close to the problems. But
Hmm.
problems are very sweet, right? Very sweet. They
Okay.
bring out the strength, that they bring out the strengths from within,
Hmm.
all potent strengths which are completely buried inside, they keep coming out. As a result, you can be a great problem solver. When you solve the problems, people don't envy you. Because they themselves are they're keeping themselves away from that problem,
Problems.
right?
Yeah. 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 Very,
Secondly,
very true.
they cannot draw comparisons. They cannot draw comparisons with me because problem is an unattended activity.
Very true. Oh,
Right?
excellent,
Yeah?
excellent. So I'm again trying to read between the lines and understand. One is that when you say that you've never had uh, a tough so-called journey, was probably your belief system itself was kind of very empowering one. Your mindset
Yeah.
was different right from childhood. So probably you were a differentiator right from there. And as you were speaking, I also remember during my journey, now when I look back, every threat that was a serious threat that came during my times actually has been rewarding. it has turned out to be opportunity. So now actually and then I started looking at, what is the next thread that is coming, because it would have some hidden opportunity. And like you said, people generally avoid. But then what question comes to my mind is that how do we empower others too? What do you do that others also start liking, to solve that, to address to those things? And like you said, the problems are sweet, the threats are opportunities actually. So what do we do? Do you think you have some solution there which we can
Yeah, yeah,
discuss?
yeah. Basically, if you very closely look at situations are situations. You
Hmm.
understand?
Okay.
Any set of conditions are conditions anywhere, right? They are neither good or neither bad. They are
Hmm.
nor they are bad. Neither they are good nor they are bad.
Hmm.
Only thing is that how to jump into it. Jumping into center of the problem is very, very vital and important.
Hmm.
You understand? And you need a philosophy actually for it. That I don't say in very simple words that problem is an opportunity, this, that, everything. But then when you jump into problem is like a bubble basically. You know,
Hmm.
the moment you put your hand on the surface,
Hmm.
it bursts, right?
Okay.
Then when you enter, you find another small balloon. Again, you poke at it, and that is the reality. You understand that? Fear stops us from jumping into it. And
Hmm.
fears are never good. Any kind of fears are never good.
Hmm.
You get it?
Okay.
So when we operate with survival brain, we have three brains,
Hmm.
and out of that, two brains. One brain is made for survival, which is very, very powerful.
Hmm. Hmm.
We call it limbic system in the
Hmm.
brain.
Hmm.
Okay. What it does is whenever it looks at the world or any situations in front of you, they just test only one thing, that is it a danger or not danger? Our amygdala, which is in the
Hmm.
limbic brain, it
Hmm.
searches for only one thing: is it danger or not a danger?
Hmm.
If it is not a danger, we get into comfort zones. Oh, nothing. Then you stop performing and all that, right? Okay.
Okay.
When it is
Okay.
a danger, adrenaline starts flowing in you.
Hmm.
Okay. Then you are very fearful.
Hmm.
You are very cautious. And when you are cautious, you cannot be really creative, to be honest with you.
Hmm.
Understand?
Hmm.
So, so in survival mode, we don't use much of creativity. That creativity is at a lower level, right?
Hmm.
It operates, but then at a lower level.
Hmm.
But when when you really start fighting that fear and get out of it, then you are not into your comfort zone. You are in a higher zone where creativity operates very well. You understand that?
Okay.
Okay. And and that's why I chose to be consultant for longer duration than my career. Okay.
Okay. Hmm.
Almost 30 years I spent in consulting. Okay.
Okay. Hmm.
Because there are opportunities all around. One is that I can choose which organizations to pick up, which kind of problems to pick up. I can choose as a consultant
Hmm.
what I can attend to. Then I am in my talent area. I am in my unique strength area. You
Very true.
understand that?
Very true.
Okay. Suppose I get into employment, what happens is there are several aspects which I don't like, and I have to still perform, which will stop my potential from
Hmm.
really getting into action.
Hmm.
Like for example, whenever I was a vice president or a group president, administration was one of the responsibilities which I did not like at all.
Hmm.
So I used to appoint a general manager who will take care of it.
Hmm.
Right? I will find out people at first, who can carry the administration very smoothly,
Hmm.
and I would hand that over to them, right?
Hmm.
Because I don't want to indulge in thing, where my unique talent will not work, right? So wherever you find spaces for creativity, you are out of survival brain and you are in a growth mode, growth
Hmm.
mode basically,
Hmm.
right? In
Mm-hmm.
growth mode, your creativity comes to the fullest extent.
Okay.
You
Mm-hmm.
understand that? So
Mm-hmm.
you have to choose such situations within a company where your creativity can flow very easily, what do you call, blocked, in any way.
Mm-hmm.
There are no barriers to it. You understand that?
Excellent. That's so very lovely. So what I understand here is that fear is the genesis for all the evils happening around us. And yes, that it is not so simple to get rid of fears. People have to really work on the other aspects too. So
No, no.
to get.
Actually, I would say that you can work easily on fear. That's not a
Mhm.
issue because we have such beautiful set of techniques available to us.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, you can overcome fears very fast.
Oh, great. So it's
Here is what exactly it is called, false evidence appearing as reality.
very true.
Honestly, here is all about future, and
Yes.
nobody has seen the future.
Mm.
So, what is the problem being optimistic instead of pessimistic?
Uh-huh.
Okay, right? Even you can be optimistic.
Very true, very true. So, I mean, that is a really a interesting one to take. That the moment you understand that there is fear, you understand that it is all about future, which you are not certain. That's lovely. Now let me take you to uh, the era that we are in, and the millennials era. The
Right.
newer generation, I and you have spoken about it, are genetically and environmentally more conditioned, far more superior and equipped to handle the challenges at workplace, their own personal challenges. Yet we find there is considerable amount of negativity which is prevailing, and we do see that in different spheres of life. We find them in different spaces around. So what is your take, and or what is your view about it?
See, first thing is that when it comes to corporates, the leaders there don't realize that they don't understand the millennials fully, completely, right?
Okay.
Like I have done 16 sessions in one of the largest software company,
Hmm.
teaching the superiors or teaching the leaders as to how to deal with all these millennials, right?
Okay.
You have to know some basic characteristics of these millennials. Okay,
Hmm.
number one is that they are fiercely independent, they want to be autonomous.
Okay.
Second
Okay.
is they have least of fears, which leaders have. They have no fears, not many fears.
Hmm.
Okay, so when fears are less and less, they can be more creative. So they want creative space anywhere.
Excellent. Hmm.
Third thing is they are very selfish. Okay, they want to work on their own goals rather than anybody else's goals.
Hmm.
So don't thrust the goals upon them, right? Make any even a corporate goal as their own goal, then they'll work on it very interestingly. Okay. Fourth thing
Interesting.
you need to realize is that they lack focus and concentration quite a lot. Their minds are wandering, all the time on different subjects. So you will find that they're multi-focused individuals. They will have four or five things at a time, right? If you watch, children in the families, millennials in the families also, they will keep watching TV at the same time they will be eating, at the same time they will converse with anybody who is on the dining table, right? They will do multiple things at a time. You understand that?
Hmm.
So they're multi-focused, right?
Hmm.
So how to utilize these abilities of theirs or these differences of theirs, which are very different from other generations.
Hmm.
Okay, right? If you can just think of the kind of profiles that you should create. Like, for example, a role is created where only analytical work is there, right? And these millennials will get bored.
Hmm.
You understand? You have to give them something where they can do multitasking, right? So create different roles rather than traditional roles for them.
Hmm.
Also create autonomy in their job.
Mm-hmm.
give space for the creativity. You
Mm-hmm.
understand that? Then they're very very happy individuals, very very happy workers, right? Okay, and
Mm-hmm.
bosses have to create new kind of jobs for them.
Okay.
You understand? Hmm.
So I'm very sure all the bosses and entrepreneurs listening to the conversation would certainly take that hint, and which can certainly benefit them in more than one ways. So this is a lovely perspective that you've given to understand the traits that these millennials carry, and to kind of exploit them in a positive way.
I'll give you
Despite
an example. I'll give you an example of this.
okay. Mm-hmm.
When cement company was running into losses, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and they had two units of theirs.
Mm-hmm.
So they gave me a very hard task of saving about 400 crores every year.
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
And
When I
what would you
entered the
get?
when I entered the organization, I saw that people are doing same monotonous jobs and all that, and most of them were millennials. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I created a organizational structure where
Mm-hmm.
the roles I specified included several activities in a assembly kind of a thing, right?
Okay.
I mean, they have to
Mm-hmm.
carry out different activities during the day. You
Okay.
understand that? At
Mm-hmm.
least five activities, different ones, I have to be done by every person. And there was a total transformation. Do you know we saved 500 crores instead of 400 crore target in both the
Wow.
units? Yeah,
That's very impressive. Very,
that
very
happened
impressive.
within that happened within 1.5 years.
So, so all those listening and watching, do underline the figures there. I'm not too sure uh, what was the reward that Mr. Datta got, but yes, as entrepreneurs and business owners, you'll certainly reap a lot of benefit. So
I,
what I was looking at here.
don't mind telling you the reward also. I bought a flat from that money.
Wow, wow. Excellent, excellent. While we're looking at this, what I sometimes think about this is, while we look at this generation and lot many generations. I mean, every generation is a better one than the previous one. Yet we see this, blaming, complaining, accusation, finger pointing, and all those happening all around us. So, do you think somewhere we lack in understanding our own core strength and qualities, and it is time to turn inwards, to address the problems in the environment, or to, make the environment conducive?
Basically, what I feel is that this is the culture which is responsible. Like if you look at last
Hmm.
four generations,
Hmm.
there were controls exercised by one generation to another generation. You understand?
Okay.
They had only one concept. What a head of the family does. Head of the family either pats or slaps. One of the two things. Either pats or slaps. So we didn't have any models in the corporates. You understand
Hmm.
as to how a manager should behave,
Okay.
or how a general manager has to behave, how a vice president has to behave, how a CEO has to behave.
Hmm.
We didn't have all those concepts. So when we were thrust into these positions, we had only one model available, that is either slap or pat. You
Okay.
understand that?
Hmm.
So even today, if you see managers who belong to last generation, they only believe in this. And there is by both ways, you are exercising the control.
Okay. Hmm.
And in this generation where the millennials are there, these controls are not acceptable at all.
Okay.
So there have to be new definitions of as to how a CEO should behave, how president and vice president should behave, how managers should behave. There should be definite rules, right?
Okay.
Def- definite a definitive description has to be given to them. Otherwise, again the same thing will keep sinking in, and then millennials will not accept it. So there is a in general rebellious behaviors you will find, because
Okay.
in earlier generations people used to surrender to control. Now, this generation would not surrender to controls.
Okay.
Never ever. Right? So they will only become rebellious. Right? And
Very
they
true.
will create more problems in the systems that you try to run in the organization. They have a tendency to really bypass all the systems.
So in a way, it gives an opportunity to the system to kind of grow, to evolve. So while you say that this is a problem, do you also have something in mind when you say, you need to define a new kind of things for CEOs and some kind of diktat or maybe new SOPs? You have something in mind there?
Yeah, yeah. See, I used to give consulting to one big company, one very large Indian company, which is successful. Okay,
Okay.
for 19 years. For 19 years,
Hmm.
and what I used to witness there was, for about continuous 7 to 10 years, all the MBAs from IIMs who will join them will quit them within 1 to 1.5 years,
Hmm.
right? Because that was a very control oriented culture, right? So they would not accept the systems. Systems would not give opportunity for people to really use their creativity at all, or
Okay.
autonomy.
Okay.
They have to be cogs of the wheel, right?
Okay.
So they used to refuse it, within 1 to 1.5 years, and they used to quit. For 10 years it happened,
Okay.
Then they asked me what to do. I said, create an environment and a culture for them, where they can not only survive and grow, but then they will not have any controls over them
Hmm.
of any kind. Even control by systems were not acceptable to such people, right? So what happened was, all such people who were recruited from, IIMs, they were being put, to really correct the systems themselves. They started operating their creativity in creating systems.
Okay.
Huh. So the rate of rate of turnover, employee turnover, dropped by 50% immediately.
Hmm.
Because they were creating systems, because they had an opportunity to create something.
Hmm.
You understand?
Okay. So
And they were the people who explained to their four plants everywhere how
hmm.
systems are important. Instead of rebelling against systems, they
Hmm.
started becoming, preachers for the systems.
Hmm.
Mm.
So that's an interesting take there. And before I move to my next question, there is light in your place is very dim at the moment. Would you want to switch
Okay,
on some light there?
I switch on.
Do you
One
have
moment.
some light around?
Give
Yes.
me 1 second.
So So while we tend to those small little glitches happening around, and I
Okay,
prepped
now.
myself up. Oh yes, sir. Now you're looking nice and nice and even more smarter than what you were. So that also is related to the other aspect which I have heard you talk about, which is reducing the humanistic approach in organizations. So how do you think this would help grapple with the negativity at the workplace? Would you like to briefly touch upon this? And while I'm saying this, I'm also thinking and processing in my mind that we are talking of uh, automizing things.
Right.
So how can actually, and when we automize, yes, we are reducing the humanistic approach, but what we are dwelling here is to understand the behavioral issues. So are these not contrasting or contradicting each other?
See, again, if you look at communication across the cultures, all Western cultures, they are very impersonal in nature.
Hmm.
Impersonal in nature, right?
Hmm.
Whereas if you look at all Asian cultures, we are very personal, right? Very important to really get close to people.
Very true.
So we believe more in verbal communication rather than written communication,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Okay. Whereas Western cultures, because they're impersonal in nature, their communication can be very virtual and, maybe, what do we call, virtual communication, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So they're very happy with that,
Mm-hmm.
listening to a phone, where they say press one for this, press two for this, press three for this, and all that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But unless somebody talks to us, we are very not very happy in our cultures, in Asian cultures, right? Would like to listen to some voice. You understand that?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. It's a cultural difference to begin with, number
Mm-hmm.
one. Number two, we may think, like, when I entered this organization 15 years back, a largest software company of India, you know, people used to just look at me and, very strange look they used to give me, okay, in workshops. They would say, entire day you did not use even one PPT, one PowerPoint presentation. I said, I don't feel like doing it. Did you feel the necessity? He said, we did not feel necessity, but we felt it odd.
Something was
Because
amiss.
because Westerners, they like more visual means, So when they like visual means, where was PowerPoint discovered? In US.
Very
You
true.
understand
Very
that,
true.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But we people are, we Asians are more auditory in nature, auditory in nature. You understand that? And
Mm-hmm.
kinesthetic, feeling in nature.
Mm-hmm.
So these two effects you can produce, you are conducting workshop without PowerPoint also. Doesn't matter.
Excellent.
You know,
Yeah, yeah.
I went through that, and that process even today. Whenever I conduct workshops, I don't show a single PowerPoint.
Mm-hmm.
Not because I like it, because I know that audience will love it.
Okay.
It doesn't become very formal. It becomes very informal. It gives rise to several questions, right? And that questions can be answered again verbally. So verbal means is what is important to us.
Mm-hmm.
And after some time, all the audiences uh, used to come out with comments like, this is one of the best sessions I attended because there was no PowerPoint presentation, because when we joined the organization, we were shown 80 PowerPoints during the day. You understand that?
So, so
So
in a way,
culture,
we talking what you were trying to. I mean, if I'm trying to hear that right, what we are talking of is increasing the humanistic approach,
yeah,
not
humanistic.
reducing the not. So when you say reducing the humanistic approach, what exactly do you mean?
See, reducing humanistic approach means, earlier the bosses, as I told you,
Mm-hmm.
were treating themselves as family heads, right?
Mm-hmm.
They used to pat sometimes, they used to scold sometimes, all that they used to do, right? At least there was some father figure who was taking care of the reportees. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'll tell you a strange thing. A timekeeper in one of the cement factory will remember not only the names of 400 people working there, but also their family members' names and how many children each one has.
Very true.
Right? Even bosses used to remember. Rusi Modi was known for that.
Okay.
Tata Steel, he was known for that,
Mm-hmm.
right? That he remembers virtually every name and the family members and what kind of difficulties they're going through and all that, right? Now, since CEOs become more and more business oriented and less humanistic,
Mm-hmm.
then your HR department came into existence. HR at least was applying the humanistic approach and solving people's problems and compassionately listen to them and all that. Today, if you carefully look at, all these HR people also became business partners.
Mm-hmm.
When they become business partners, they have to play the role that CEO is playing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Help the
Mm-hmm.
business.
Okay.
So today, if you see in large corporations, employees don't have anybody to go to.
Mm-hmm.
If they have any grievance,
Mm-hmm.
they don't know whom to complain, because even if they complain, they know that HR is going to back only the top management,
Mm-hmm.
or it will quote
Okay.
the rules, or it will quote the rules.
Okay.
But there is no humanistic approach left actually. You know, I'm glad to tell you, one of my friends has started something called spiritual practices in corporates. You know,
Okay.
he's
Great.
in Calcutta. And
Okay.
he is trying to spread this message that, how to have humanistic touch.
Okay.
Hmm. Right? Human touch is very necessary,
All right.
which is in corporates right now.
Mhm.
Because of business compulsions, they say, but business compulsions, in fact, should bring them closer to people, who are working downstairs.
Very true. Very true. That is why. That is why we are all human being, and
Yeah,
we are not otherwise. And
right.
when we are human being, it is always necessary to have that humanistic touch. So
Now, nowadays,
now, yeah.
unfortunately, instead of human being, it is human doing is what is preferred.
Mhm. Very true, very true. So now that you are at a age and stage where you've had all kind of successes and you seem to be fairly settled in life. And
Right.
so what drives you now? Do you still hold some purpose, some vision, or some goals that you would want to achieve? So what is next? What are the plans?
Yeah. See, I think, I'm very fortunate enough that, in childhood itself, I
Mhm.
could somewhere come with a idea of, the life purpose, right?
Okay.
I used to see the children being beaten by their parents and all that. So there, I had the first purpose that nobody should be
Hmm.
beaten by anybody else,
Hmm.
right? Okay. So no child should suffer because of the beatings by parents or elders and all that. That turned somewhere when I was in mid 30s. That turned into nobody in front of me should suffer. Okay, so if I am there to really help them not to suffer, then what I should have, then I started creating lot of tools, techniques, therapies, everything, right?
Okay.
Even today, every year I take at least two certifications and then start practicing the therapies on people. So
Hmm.
idea is nobody should suffer in front of me, right? I am here to reduce their suffering.
Great, great.
That purpose is so strong that it keeps me alive, it keeps me energetic, and I keep doing,
And
right?
no wonders you have amassed the number of techniques that you have in your kitty. So
Yeah, yeah.
what is your typical day like these days?
See, I I give about 4 hours to 6 hours for myself, where I keep reading, I keep listening to some videos, audios, audiobooks, and all that. Okay, and do my little bit of meditation. Okay, all that. About 6 hours I spend in healing people.
Oh.
Okay, I have already, I mean, a good client list
Hmm.
from India, also from US, and I keep attending to them for six
Okay.
hours.
All right.
Rest of the time, I keep talking to my friends, including you.
Yes, yes.
I even keep talking to my enemies, who are there in the past, right?
and 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 yes, I'm very sure that our interaction would be certainly very meaningful, and we would end up creating something good, which
And,
certainly meets the purpose that you have set out yourself to. And it will certainly, now that I know what kind of brings you that satisfaction, and most
right,
of us are kind of likewise energies which have joined hands. So.
right,
Uh, uh, Now I know you hardly have any vices, and you have fair good, if not control, good grip on whatever uh, is in your body, mind, and spirit. But still,
right.
somewhere, do you have some gremlins, some demons in the head sometimes?
No, I don't think so. Nothing comes to my head because my head
Okay.
is very clear. Normally I'm very, very clear. There are no abnormal situations in my life at all.
Ah,
Okay, right? If somebody needs advice, I'll give it. If they don't need it, I don't give it. That's it. Very simple. Make it very simple.
very true. Very true. Very true. Keeping it simple is the best mantra, actually. So
I never,
I'm
never, I never let any emotions accumulate in me.
okay. Mhm.
Okay.
So although I'm sure that we've had a lot of learnings from this meaningful conversation of ours, yet if there was something which tops your list, which people you would want people to take from this conversation, or there is something that I haven't asked you and you haven't mentioned, would you like to share that with us as a parting shot?
There are two things that are very, very important
Okay.
for anybody to lead a wonderful life.
Hmm.
One thing is energies. you know, keep
Okay.
the energy very, very high all the time.
Excellent. Hmm.
Keep the energies very high all the time. And it can happen at mental level, it can happen at physical level, both the levels.
Hmm.
Okay. The moment you're energetic, people cannot manipulate you, people cannot play games with you, people cannot do any damn thing to you, right? Even curses will keep off you, right? Okay.
Excellent.
So being energetic is highly important and all the time.
Hmm.
Okay. Second thing that is very important is the self is the self belief.
Hmm.
Okay, self belief. Unless you know your strengths and uniqueness, you cannot believe in yourself. At first, know them and start believing in yourself.
Very true.
Then you don't have to be dependent on others, or
Hmm.
the corporates, or the bosses, or the parents, anybody. You
Hmm.
can become very independent if you know your strengths and abilities and you believe in yourself. That
Hmm.
is the second most important thing. Though I'm intending to add, third one also, that is always be problem centered.
Hmm.
The moment there is a problem anywhere, catch hold of it and start solving it, right? To the extent possible and what your sphere allows you to. Okay, because people need solutions.
Hmm.
All
Hmm.
businesses may finish, everything can finish, but one thing that will not finish will be the problems of the people. Till you are glued to the problems of people, you are always successful in life.
Great. So be a problem solver, huh?
Absolutely.
Yes. Well. To some today's talk, there is fair amount that we can do. Right from increasing your self worth to not making comparisons, believing in yourself, working on yourself to shed those fears. Very simple ways, and there is so much for leaders and the bosses to take from this meaningful conversation of ours. Uh, that's all from us on this evening, and hope you liked this conversation as we enjoyed. I certainly enjoyed. Wish this could, for the paucity of time, otherwise we could have gone on and on. And I'm very sure we were able to provide value to your time. We will be back with you with another interesting episode, another interesting and meaningful conversation with yet another interesting guest. So, while I wish Mr. Dattatreya all the very best in all his endeavors and his purposes, in a way, I would be wishing myself, because it is the energies that connect us in many which ways, and our exchanges are very regular. So, you take good care of your loved ones. Stay peaceful. Stay happy. It's Mr. Dattatreya from Mumbai, and I, Wing Commander Satyendra Chauhan, aka Vinko Chow from Bangalore, saying bye bye, signing off, and take good care of yourself. Keep smiling and keep happy. Bye bye.
Thank you so much for inviting me. Right?
Thank you, sir. Pleasure.